This is Michael and his wife, Lana. If anybody gets wanting something to drink, there's some water and Pepsi over there in that metal container. The reason we are having this meet and greet is just to get our group out to the public, let everybody meet us, and try to explain what we're doing and what the militia is about. We started this group back in April. We started with three members, and we went to Paducah to train with a group in the Kentucky State Militia. And what Kentucky State Militia is, it's a network of several different groups that get together and train, coordinate, and that way if anything were to happen, whatever the scenario would be, we would come together as KSM and we would have more members and more resources scattered out across the state to address whatever the issue may be. This group, we are now up to 8 members, and we had a meet and greet a couple weeks ago, and we have probably 7 potential recruits that's talking about joining in the next meeting. So we just wanted to have a meet and greet here. Our goal is to have one in every county that we do 11 counties in the southeast region. This is the farthest north that we have a county. That's Rockcastle. We do Laurel, Bell, Whitley, Clay, Knox, Leslie, Laurel, Harlan, Perry, Owsley, Jackson. We have members or recruits in 5 of those counties now. And our goal is to have basically a team or even a squad level in each county. That would be our goal. But we're basically a new team, and we're trying to build up good members that are dedicated. We want members who, first, we want members that have military or law enforcement experience, or EMS. We need paramedics and EMTs, obviously, for to carry out the medical aspects of what is involved with the militia. And we want the everyday people. We want people that have different skills, such as maybe you might be a carpenter and you could build. That could be something that we could incorporate if a situation came up and we needed to build a building or build something. A carpenter would be good. Truck drivers would be good because they could be used to move stuff for us. I've even been talking to a doctor to join. He is considering it, but because of his time schedule, it's going to be kind of hard for him. But to have different people in your group that have different skills, your everyday citizen is something that we are looking forward to. That would help our group and our network if the situation come up where we needed different individuals. We ask that if someone joins our group, that they commit as much time as possible to the group. We understand that your work and your family comes first, and everybody in our group at one point in time has to cancel or can't make a training, and we understand that. We don't hold that against anybody, but we would like to get enough members to eventually have a team or a squad in each county, and we train at least once a month. Most months we do it twice a month, and we train in different areas of the state. Most of our training we do here in Livingston or in Clay County, in Manchester. We also train with the other groups in Pikeville. We train with them in Paducah, and there's other places that they train. So we want to go to different locations and train with all these different groups. That way we get familiar with them and how they're set up and how they train. We learn stuff from them. We've learned a lot from those different groups. We are all new at this, and we are slowly growing, and we are progressing with our training and our skills. And that's why we wanted to have this, is to invite people to meet us and see if they want to join the militia, see what it's about. Basically, our recruiting process is, once you notify us that you're interested, you come and meet the team. Usually that's at a meeting or a meet and greet or a training. Once you meet the team, then we decide to bring you on as a recruit. When you go start training with us, we do what's called a firearm skills evaluation. Before you start training with firearms, we bring you in, and we make sure that you follow all the safety procedures and rules of firearms. And once we feel that you have the skills to train with us, then we bring you in and we slowly show you some of the stuff that we do. So after you're brought on as a recruit, we do a 30-day recruit period. During that time, you are to attend meetings and trainings and say events like this. And the rest of the team will vote after 30 days to allow you to be a member. If you're voted in, then you become a full member of our group. So once you're a full member, then you take an oath. Militiaman takes an oath, just like law enforcement, just like military, just like your public officials. You take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of Kentucky against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we take that oath very serious. We have members that have military experience. We have members that have law enforcement experience. I'm a retired police officer. I have 22 and a half years law enforcement. And we have another member that has law enforcement experience. And we invite law enforcement to come out and train with us. Some groups don't like that idea, but our opinion is we don't do anything wrong. We don't do anything illegal. They can come train with us. They can come watch us. If the FBI wants to come out and watch us, that's fine. I've had people tell me, you're in the militia, you're going to get on watch lists. My response to that was, they can come watch us all they want because we don't do nothing wrong. And then I asked them, I said, what kind of country do you live in when you have to worry about getting on a government watch list, exercising your constitutional rights? So we don't want people in our group who are anti-government or who are racist or who have violent ideologies. We just don't want anything like that in our group. We basically get together, we train on how to defend ourselves with firearms. We do hand-to-hand combat. We train on first aid, individual first aid tactics like applying tourniquets or packing wounds and all that stuff. So at each meeting, we even do a medical plan. That's in case if somebody gets hurt or accidentally shot. We go over what we do, what our procedure is to get that person some help. So we do a lot of different things in our training. Most of it is firearms training. We do communications, we do navigation, we do hand-to-hand combat. There's just several different things that we do that we feel like we need to train for in case something were to happen and we needed to come together as a group. Because you really don't know what's going to happen or what you're going to end up doing. Our goal is to also assist the county or the community in stuff like search and rescue. We're in the hills all the time. We're using navigation and communication all the time. In Clay County, we have talked with our fire departments, and we're trying to get, which we know a lot of them. We have a couple members that were firefighters, so we're trying to get it to where if they have a search and rescue and they needed more people to help, they could call us. Obviously, we would show up unarmed or concealed to where it wouldn't look like we were there as kind of like a military, but we would show up as basically a civilian level to assist in their search and rescue. The same thing with natural disasters. If you have a tornado comes through the community and the local officials need more assistance, we We want to be available to them, and we've been talking to some local sheriffs and local county officials to let them know that we are some basically boots on the ground that they can use in some of those situations. We feel that that's part of our duty also, is not only to be ready in case something happens where we have to use firearms or something to defend ourselves, but we also want to be available to the community to help kind of in a natural disaster or maybe like a search and rescue. Okay. So we do our training in Livingston and Clay County and several other places, and we have several members that have skills that they use in the military or law enforcement, and we try to get other people from other groups coming in to train with us, kind of show us some skills that we could use also. So a lot of people ask us, what is the militia? What does it do? The militia is an armed citizen. It's the citizens who take up arms to defend themselves if the situation arises. If you own a firearm and you are an able-bodied person, you are the militia. Whether or not you know that or agree with that, you are the militia. You are who is supposed to step up if this country were invaded or if there was an attempted insurrection. The three constitutional duties of the militia is to repel invasion, suppress insurrection, and execute the law. The militia in the Constitution has a duty to execute the law. And the reason that is because when this country was founded, our founders wanted the militia to be able to execute the law. It called into service by the president or on the state level by the governor. And technically, the militia is the only entity in the Constitution that is then authorized to execute the law when called up into service by the president. It gets kind of complicated. I was in law enforcement for several years, and one of the officers come up to me and said, "Randy Paul says we don't have a constitutional duty to execute the law." And I said, "Well, that's true, because local police officers, FBI, and all that, state police didn't exist when the Constitution was written. They wanted it to where if the people had to enforce the law, execute the law, if the governor or the president called them up, then they could. So then Congress made laws which give law enforcement their authority. So it's not a constitutional authority. So the militia is something that goes way back even before the Revolution, and it's basically the citizens would take up arms to defend themselves in their country and their community. And that's what our goal is to get a militia going in this area, actually all across the state. Because if you've seen some of the stuff that's going on the state level and on the national level with the gun laws, then you kind of understand why we still need the militia even after 240 some years. As most of you probably already know, Virginia is, they're trying to pass some very unconstitutional gun laws there. And last week they had a rally there, which went very, very well. It couldn't win any better for the gun owners, the patriots, and the militia than what it did. They went there, they showed up in numbers, and basically, there was no violence. And at this point, that's the way it should win. But this liberal governor and liberal House and Senate are still pushing for their unconstitutional gun laws. In my opinion, I think a lot of those, if they're passed, they will be overturned by the Supreme Court. But if that doesn't happen, then I think it's going to have to go to the next level. And hopefully it doesn't go that far, but it kind of looks like it. And I think that's why a lot of people are interested in what the militia is. The number of people that have asked us about membership and who are interested in joining has went through the roof. Because a lot of people see what's going on, not only in Virginia, but in Kentucky. There's proposed bills in Kentucky. I don't think they'll pass, but we shouldn't even be having this conversation in the first place because the Constitution established our rights to keep and bear arms 247 years ago. But still you have people out there that want to take our guns, who don't want us to have guns. And it all boils down to a liberal. The liberals are pushing an agenda, and the media is backing that agenda. And that's what's happened to the image of the militia over the last few decades, is the liberals and the media have smeared it and made it look like a bad thing. And they do that so they fear, my opinion, they fear the militia. They fear the armed citizens of this country because they can't push their agenda and do what they want to do if they know that citizens are armed and are willing to stand up and fight for their constitutional rights. So that's why I think the media and the liberal have smeared the militia to make it look like a bad thing. And there are some bad groups out there. There are some people out there that call themselves militia who have the wrong intentions, the wrong ideologies, and they do stuff that make all the other groups look bad. There's good and bad in all people. It's the same thing with militia. You have good and bad police officers, you have good and bad politicians, you have good and bad in everybody. And the same thing with militia because we're human. You have good ones, you have bad ones. So if you join a group, learn what the group is. First, learn what their intentions are and what they do. Do they talk about stuff that's illegal or stuff that is going to get somebody in trouble? We don't do that in our group. We get together and we train and we learn. We want to learn skills to defend ourselves. And that's what it all boils down to is learning to defend yourself and your family and community. Yes.
What are you training to defend yourself from?
Any threat.
Apart from an invasion, domestic threats, what are you training to defend yourself from?
First and foremost, probably a tyrannical government.
So any activity, like at what point would you consider what you're doing to be illegal and not illegal? Because any act to overthrow a tyrannical government would be considered illegal at the time.
You're right. It's not to overthrow the government. A constitutional militia upholds the Constitution and our form of government. It's the people that get into government who are violating the Constitution, perverting the Constitution, trying to change our form of government. That is the people.
The government would make out what you're doing as illegal, though. So,
Yes. It's not our intent, and we don't train to fight the government or overthrow the government. It's our intent to remove, if forced by necessary, the people within the government who are violating the Constitution and trying to change the form of government. So we stick to the Constitution. If something is constitutional, we feel that it's constitutional, then we're good with it. Now, like the illegal gun laws, they're unconstitutional. So what would we do if they proceed and it escalates? It all boils down to, are you justified in whatever action you take? We would stand there if Virginia was happening in Kentucky, and let's just assume, and the people had to go remove a governor or whoever, or an official who is violating the Constitution. Then the militia or the people would go to ask the governor to step down. We would put pressure on the governor to step down. We would have rallies and all that. And as far as force, we are defensive in nature. We would not be the ones firing the first shot. We would stand our ground and we would defend ourselves if they escalated things to the point to where they were putting us in danger. Basically, our actions would be justified by law.
Something you didn't mention, you were talking about Virginia,
Yes.
was something a lot of people don't know, and it's because the news doesn't put out, maybe put out. 91 out of 95 counties in Virginia within the last 2 to 3 months became passed legislation in their counties, make them Second Amendment, to protect the Second Amendment, basically going against
Sanctuary county.
Yeah.
Second Amendment sanctuary.
So the 4 counties that are controlled by liberals or Democrats or whoever's controlling it are trying to control all of the people, and this is why we need the militias.
Yes, you are correct. In Virginia, there's one thing I think I agree with the sanctuary, Second Amendment sanctuary counties. I agree with that whole thing, but one thing that they are all missing, except for 2 counties, and that was 2 counties in Virginia, they added a militia clause in there that said, we're not going to enforce your unconstitutional gun laws. That's what the sanctuary county thing does. But what they did, they added in there also that if you try to come in and remove our officials for not enforcing these laws, or if you come in and try to confiscate people's guns with your unconstitutional laws, we're going to call up our citizens to form a militia, and we're going to stand our ground to keep you from doing that. Those 2, Lee County and Tazewell County, Virginia, put that in their sanctuary ordinances. And I think, my own personal opinion, that's something that all the sanctuary counties are missing. They need something there to enforce their sanctuary county ordinances. Without an enforcement, it's just an acknowledgement we're not going to enforce your laws. But if you put in there, we're not only going to do that, but we're going to call up our citizens to assist our sheriff and our local officials to keep you from coming in and confiscating guns or trying to remove them for not enforcing your unconstitutional laws. And it all boils down to, is the law that they're passing, is it constitutional or not? So I think that's something all these sanctuary counties should be adding to their ordinances. Is something in there to kind of like an enforcement. This is how we're going to keep you from doing that. Because right now it's just an acknowledgement that we're not going to enforce your laws. There needs to be a little bit more to it.
If you haven't seen something that's scary, the aftermath of Virginia, at the Capitol, there's a YouTube video where 2 Capitol police went and visited one of the attendees 100 miles away.
Right.
And you should see that video.
I have, yes.
That's a scary video.
It is. And unfortunately,
And he was taking video, and he picked only some of the wood there at the Capitol. They said that was suspicious. Him videoing and doing that, which is legal.
Right. And it boils down to that governor, basically the governor or someone in his organization has ordered them to go do that. But then again, those guys went and did it, and it looks like it's an infringement on that individual's rights.
You should say it. He done a very good job in response.
Yes.
He did the excellent job.
Right.
And the one thing that stood out was the policeman there said, well, we're just doing our job.
Right.
And his response was, well, the police that escorted the Jew into their death chamber, they were just doing their job too.
Right.
And that stuck with me.
Yes.
That's how serious
It is. Hopefully the next election there'll be a lot more people get out and vote and get some of these people out in Virginia and on the national level. On the national level or even in Kentucky, we're just one election away from being just like Virginia. If we get a liberal president, we could end up on the national level being the same way. So getting people out to vote is very, very important also. Yes.
How is your, chain of communication, once they happen in Frankfurt, to the people here in Kentucky?
What's our chain of communication?
Yeah.
You mean, how would we let people know?
Yeah.
Well, there's different ways that we have a Facebook page, and we get a lot people going to that page and seeing, what we're doing. We have people that we talk to that's not in the group that knows. Basically, you would let people know in the public what's going on and all that. So it's like we've been attending some of the rallies. We went to the rally in Frankfurt, and we went there to talk to our representative and talk to other. We had talked to several members from other militias, and we also talked to just regular civilians that were there. And we had a really, really good response. The amount of support that we got there was really unbelievable. I never imagined that a militia would get such good response. We never had one negative, any negative comments or anything about the militia or about our group during that rally or any of the meetings. The last meet and greet we had was the same way. Everybody there had a good positive attitude about the militia. And I think right now things are going back. People are starting to see what a militia is and how it can be beneficial to have a militia if it has the original intent that a militia is supposed to be. Like I said, there's different groups out there, and there's some groups out there that are basically, there's some that are racist and there's some that are violent, and that's not us. And it's our goal to help bring back the original intent of what a militia is, what it's supposed to be, what its constitution is supposed to be. We want to work with other groups. We want to build a good network of groups. It's not about power or anything like that. When it comes to other groups, we train with several other groups, and it's been a really good experience training with all these different groups. And that way we all can communicate. If something were to happen right now, I feel that I can call the guys in some of these other groups up, and they can come here, even on a personal level. I think there's some in those groups that I can call and say, hey, I need some help with this or that. I know I can call some of those guys, and they would make the trip if they really knew I needed help with something. They would make the trip to help me out, and especially in our group, because I've already done that before. I've called some of the guys up and said, can you guys lend me a hand? Yeah, they'll come do it. It's kind of like a brotherhood, really. When you get together with people and you start training with them and talking to them and having a good time, you become like a small family. You become like a brotherhood. I think when people come out and they train and they see what we do and they realize, this is stuff that I can use, learning stuff, and it's also some people that I can rely on. Then I think a lot of people get more into it. Because when we do our trainings, the first thing we do is we're like, okay, when are we doing the next one? Because everybody is ready to go and do the next training within the next couple of weeks. And that's important, is have that basically a small community there. Michael, do you want to say anything? Is there anybody that wants to come up and make any comments about the militia or about the gun laws or anything that applies to either of those?
Unfortunately, I think the majority of the media would be against us.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they are.
That's hard to even if they're weak. They're extremely liberal in majority. That's something you have to overcome. We talk about not being presented, being negative, what we're doing, and all that.
Right. Yes, sir.
I think it's needed. There's the power of numbers.
Right.
Not just force a gun. There's power of numbers out there, the votes and things like that. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is being able to have some votes out there as well.
Yes. Getting people out the vote is very important. Yes, sir. Yeah. Right on. Yes.
Well, I just want to mention Ken talks
afraid of it. A lot of people don't know what militia is about. Some of them, like you said, has got a bad name.
Right.
I feel you guys might already have a plan for this, is you guys, whoever's part of this, is going to have to be actively involved in the communities, let people know you're there in a state of emergencies, you know, the fire departments, whatever is community oriented. Everybody needs to be there to be involved, just like the fire department, whatever. I feel when people see that you're not just some government threat, you know what I mean? Like to me, it kind of made it out to be where people really knows that you're there for them. I think you'd have more people willing to be involved and get on board with what you're trying to do. It's being community oriented and wherever the base is at, being there for people, say emergencies like say Livingston, we had a lot of water main breaks. The mayor, a lot of times, they volunteers just to pass out water. Mike knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you guys come to the mayor and say, hey, we're here if you need us, the more people see you out, the more they're going to feel comfortable, like knowing that you're on their side instead of against them. Yeah, just my 2 cents.
That's a good point. You're exactly right. And the mayor there, he can call on us anytime he feels he needs any assistance with just if he needs people there to help with anything like that, or the sheriff or the county officials, at any time he can call on us. We would be happy to get our people together and come out and help the community. And if it's something where we need even more people, I'm sure we can contact KSM and they would send volunteers to help also if we need.
I'm not really used to talking on the mic, so if I pause for a minute, just like that right there, without any explanations, because I'm not used to hearing my own voice over a speaker. One thing I will say is, well, first, if you guys have any questions about the constitutionality of the militia, how it works, I've heard a couple questions about when it can be used and when not. That's my field of study. I've put several years into that, so if you have any questions along those lines, I'm happy to answer, or I can probably point you in the right direction. Is that a question?
No, I was correct.
Oh, sorry. One thing I want to point out, we're gathering here, we're talking about militia, we're talking about things like opposing unconstitutional laws, repelling insurrections has been brought up, all these kinds of things. The fact of the matter is the militia right now is, as far as, for any and all intents and purposes, it's defunct. It's basically non-existent. When Paul Revere rode back in the War for Independence during the events of April 19, 1775, he was able to muster, along with the other people who rode with him, almost 100,000 militiamen in the space of 24 hours. 100,000. And this is back in Boston, Massachusetts, 1775. This is without phones, this is without internet, this is without all these things. That was the state of the militia back then. And you guys are going to hear, and you probably do already hear, a lot of things about 60 million or 600 million guns in the hands of 60 million gun owners. They're never going to get them. The truth of the matter is we were better armed per capita back during the 1700s, 1775, partially because they were used to having to defend their lives on a regular basis against Indian raids and against the French. War was on the horizon. Now we have the ocean moats that got across the ocean to get to us, but that was a true back then. The Spanish were on the soil, the French were on the soil, and so they had a culture of being trained and ready. They trained every week, every Sunday they trained, and that was an ancient law that went back to 1066, first millennium. Right now, for all intents and purposes, we can't do any of that. We've fallen apart. We've fallen on our face. And if we don't get serious, if we don't start putting stuff together, we're going to lose. Another hard truth, back during 1775, America did not win. America fought the British long enough where they got tired of fighting and said, we made more money trading. But we lost pretty much every battle we ever fought in for years. For 6 years, we got our butt handed to us up one side of the coast and down the other. And the only thing that saved us was the French, as much as I hate to admit it, but that's the truth. We have a chance in front of us right now to do better than our ancestors did. But if we're going to defend our liberties, we have to do better than our ancestors did. The militia right now, the people right now, are not equipped, they are not trained, and most importantly, they are not coordinated enough to dedicate themselves to that purpose. If we're going to win, we have to commit to it, and we have to start doing more. Any questions on it?
You're right. Knowing the laws, for example, I've been to law enforcement, I was a certified law enforcement, I worked for Richmond PD, I worked for deputy sheriffs, and knowing the laws is very, very important. What you can do and can't do, and how you should do something if something happens. And I hope you got a big part of that. I think that's just as important as learning how to shoot.
Yeah.
Change the car is knowing the law.
Yeah, you're absolutely
What I
right.
can do, what I can't do, what if I've done something, what should I do?
Yeah.
I have to ask the car.
Yeah.
What should I do? You know, what should I say and not say?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Well,
I know we went through lots of training and
yeah.
trying to get people to say something that would incriminate them when they done something lawful.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Well, you were talking about the constitutionality and, we're upholding the law, we're not against the law.
Right.
But people need to remember, they talk about the militia overthrowing the government. The militia actually never resisted the government in American history. Not really. The militia were called up by their county governments, by elected officials that had been elected officials for a long time. And so when people get this picture in their minds that we're gonna go reset things, no. We have to uphold law at all times. Otherwise, it's anarchy. We have to uphold higher law sometimes, but we always have to be in service and support of law. Otherwise, we're just a bunch of people trying to
I
make
think
something happen.
that's a big key, knowing the law.
That's the difference between the American War for Independence and the French Revolution. In the War for Independence, the militias were called up by the Continental Congress, and they were deployed in specific fields. They had rules of engagement. April 19th, 1775, the Battle of Lexington and Concord. The running order was, do not fire unless fired upon, but if they want war, let it begin here. When you start having a bunch of people just trying to make something change and go to a different or an older or whatever you want to call it form of government, that's what turned into the Reign of Terror over in France. The difference between an organized unit in support of law and order and a disorganized one trying to bring about a change of some kind. That's the difference between upholding law and order and a revolution. And a revolution is something none of us want. Truly. Anything else? The last thing I'll say is I'm not trying to sound down on anybody. I'm not trying to sound down on the militia. I've been in the militia for 10 years. It is absolutely essential. Our founding fathers said that at any point in time, the American people are less trained